welcome to TalentED, the podcast that's going to bring you some insightful conversations with exceptional and talented educational professionals. And I'm your host, Dr. Eric Skanson. Today, we are thrilled to have Dr. Klint Willert joining us. So I'm going to do a little introduction. You tell me how I do here, Klint. Klint is a dynamic educational professional with a remarkable background as a recognized leader and educational innovator. He's currently serving as a superintendent in Pipestone, Minnesota, but before that, he held a position in Brooking, South Dakota. His leadership journey also included serving as the superintendent of the Brainerd School District, one of the largest rural districts in Minnesota, but also Marshall Public Schools in Southwest MN. He's got his doctorate in leadership from the University of St. Thomas. He excels in leading community initiatives, fostering growth through partnerships, sharing invaluable insights on leadership. It does remarkable personal development as a certified speaker with the John Maxwell Team. And his remarkable achievements led to being named one of the finalists for the National Superintendent of the Year recognition by the NASS, the National Association of School Superintendents, in 2015. So get ready. Here we go. Mr. Klint Willert, thank you for joining us today on TalentED. Welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself, bud.
Hey, yeah, I'm excited to be here, and I don't know if there's too much more to add than that. Boy, that was a fantastic introduction. A couple other things that really define who I am. I would be remiss if I didn't mention my wonderful wife, April, and I've got two amazing kids that their own educational journey has really informed who I am as both a practitioner as much as a dad, and that's been a lot of fun. And I've had the opportunity to be a professional educator in several states. I've been in Montana. That's where my wife and I started our career. And then obviously Minnesota, as you mentioned, a little time in South Dakota. And I actually had a brief stint as a school superintendent in Iowa as well. So,
wow.
I'm
traveling the Midwest.
I'm pretty familiar with the Midwest. And other than that little hiatus that I took out in the mountains of Montana, the Midwest has been home. Absolutely.
Now, rumor has it that you maybe had cows in South Dakota. Is this correct?
I do. I have a small beef herd, so
did they come? They didn't come with you though.
They haven't come yet. I guess I'd say that, but no. That some people have a golf game. I have a few cows.
You have a few cows. Well, all right. So you're talking about TalentED. Just there's lots of different areas here that we could talk about, but. When you and I had talked previously, one of the things that I know that you're really interested about and talking about is education, and even how do you envision a more personalized, customized approach to education that benefits learners. But my first question is, just tell us, what excites you the most about education?
Just the where we're at today. It really jazzes me up when I think about what opportunities that we have in front of us right now. And I'm not all rose-colored glasses. I know we have some challenges. I know we have challenges with staffing, and we have some other challenges in terms of still kind of dealing with the residual impact of the pandemic. Again, no rose-colored glasses here. But I think we have a lot more blue sky than what we care to admit and want to talk about. And I say that because we're living in one of the most exciting times ever when we think about the integration and the holistic approach that we can now take with the integration of technology and resources, combined with the art and sciences of incredible teaching, to really center on this learner-centered approach to education. Boy, I get pretty excited about that.
People forget that if you actually take a step back and you look holistically, even over 5 years, 10 years, we actually get a whole lot better every year at what we're doing.
Yeah,
like I know there's this thought out there like it's doom and gloom, but you're right, Dr. Klint, in that we continue to get better. There's just a plethora of resources around us to help us do our work, and it is an exciting time.
And that's where I'm again, maybe a little deviation here, but I really think that as we talk about what we do in education, so much of our culture, our collective culture as educators, is grounded in those stories, those narratives that we tell and that we share. And we all have those occasional tough situations, but boy, I would really challenge our educators that are listening and those that are part of School Pro here to think about those positive narratives, those narratives where we celebrate,
Mhm.
lift, and acknowledge the little miracles that happen in our classrooms and our
That sure
schools and our
is
communities each
correct.
and every day.
Well, I mean, let's keep talking about this. Our our economy, we're switching into this like this knowledge-based economy, and you have some ideas around this. What specific changes do you believe are necessary for us to continue to adapt and thrive? We just talked about like we've been doing a good job. Give me some thoughts on how do we keep going?
Yeah, and I think we don't have to look any further than one of the staples of Minnesota and the upper Midwest. We kind of use that as a context, right? Um, this is a very heavy ag-based economy and community, and we look at how that production occurs today. It's not the same as it was 5 years
Hmm.
ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. They're implementing sciences, they're implementing precision technologies, and if we walk in our classrooms today, I would argue that we're going to see the design, at least of our classrooms, look very familiar to what they
Hmm.
were 15, 20, 30, dare even say 50 years ago, with rows of desks. And fundamentally, I think that's where we have to start. We have to think about reframing and shaping the space where kids learn and how they interact with each other and their environment. And I'm just not talking the internal environment, but the
Hmm.
external environment as well. And we have these incredible opportunities, again, leveraging technology and being able to utilize Zoom technology and bring in experts and allow kids to interface and become aware of things. One of the things that I really believe that we have an opportunity to do with, again, the various resources that we have is help kids discover what their aptitudes are. I'm going to use Pipestone here for an example. We're in Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes.
Hmm.
Pipestone County is one of, I believe, 2 or 3 counties in the entire state that doesn't have a lake in it. So what are the odds that we're going to discover a marine biologist in Pipestone County? Well,
Right.
chances are we probably have one because they have an aptitude for that skill. And we need to find ways to examine those aptitudes, those
Hmm.
strengths, those assets. And I think we do. I think we have the tools and the resources to do that in a way that we have never had before. It's just the willingness of the leaders and the teachers to embrace those tools,
Hmm.
implement those tools in a way that really comes back to what we talked about before, that learner-centered approach to what we're doing in education.
Well, let's be honest here. If we can get a tractor to drive itself, I think we can loosen up the reins a little bit in schools and let students drive their own education, right?
Yeah,
Like I think we can do more of that.
I think you're right. And that whole learner agency, we're letting them take a little more ownership. And and here's what's fascinating, because I've seen this done before in some of my previous experiences. We were implementing these practices. And when you walk into a learning studio, another name for a classroom, and you observe the students working as hard as, if not harder than, the teachers doing their work and then checking for understanding and helping
Hmm.
with their own formative assessment processes, that is pretty fascinating. And being able to listen to to kids that are 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old talk about metacognition and
Hmm.
reflecting on their own thinking and understanding how they learn, that's really powerful. And those are the skills that, going back to the question that you asked, how do we adapt for this gig and knowledge-based economy? That's how.
Yeah.
It's really taking this old traditional pyramid of the decision makers are at the top and the owners are at the top, and flipping it so that everybody's an owner. And I think we have to do that because we're in an age of automation, rapid change, artificial technologies that are kind of emerging and taking away those low-tiered menial tasks. So we need to increase the skill sets of everybody so they have that entrepreneur and
Hmm.
owner mindset.
Well, I'm gonna go on a little bit of a soapbox here. This is why I want to really challenge the districts out there that are thinking about these 3 and 5 year plans. Our landscape is changing too fast.
Yeah.
So whether you're calling it the OODA loop or whatever processes you're going through to kind of make those decisions, I challenge districts out there to tighten that loop so that they can make smaller corrections. I'm a former driver's ed teacher. I don't know if I told you that.
Okay.
And one of the things we always talked about is, not big corrections with the wheel, right? Not big corrections. I think as districts, we got to be willing to do shorter increments of corrections and follow what our students are asking, and follow those breadcrumbs, and watch and see what's happening in front of us so that we can be responsive. We can be rapidly responsive when we're doing this roadmap. And, we talk about being adaptive. As institutions, we need to be adaptive. Follow those kids who are being adaptive. Like it's an all, like when you say about everybody on the top, let's go time. Everybody on the top, let's do it.
Yeah. And in being flexible and embracing that ambiguity and finding comfort in ambiguity.
Yes.
That's the world we live in today. How many revisions are we on with the iPhone right now, and nobody blows their mind when a new iPhone revision or when I get the update on my phone, the little notice that says your iPhone's going to update tonight. It's a mindless okay,
do it,
and you let it go. And we have so much ownership, I think, and institutional knowledge that it's hard to do that in education. But I think in a culture that builds and establishes trust around a student-centered focus, that's definitely achievable.
Well, okay, let's keep going on this. Foster a culture and improvement and innovation in our institutions. This is, I think, what we're leading into here. What do you think some effective strategies are for institutions that want to be in this side of innovation and out front? Because there is a whole lot of force that wants to pull people back in and say, get back in line, don't be special. What would you say to that?
Well, first and foremost, I think it is establishment of the culture of the organization as a whole, and the people are who make up the culture. And I really want people to think about that for a moment and pause, because culture is the collective of the individual. And when we talk about that, it starts with the person saying, okay, it's okay to take risks, but it's equally the responsibility of the leaders in those organizations to give people permission to take risks and understand that failure is inevitable. It's going to happen. That's what teaching and learning is all about. But what better place to experience failure if you're failing forward than in a school? I mean, that's what we want our children to do. We want them to fail
learning.
forward. Yeah, exactly.
Failure is learning.
And so it starts with that culture and some strategies, I think, that are really important that can be implemented. Come back to those feedback loops that you talked about. One little tactic that I've utilized with teams that I've worked with is creating a fast feedback loop, a fast feedback form. So you have instant feedback, you can make some adjustments and utilize this whole continuous improvement model of checking, adjusting, and moving forward in a timely way. Too often the feedback loops that we get, at least based upon the model that we have today, we wait for our standardized tests, which come months after they've been issued, which are months after the school year is done. And we start thinking about implementing changes as a result of that. And those are changes that are about a program. They're not fundamental changes about the culture and the conditions that we provide in our schools. And I'm an advocate for, let's step back and change the culture, the collective things that we share, the way we talk, like we talked before, the stories, the narratives that we exchange, the permission that we give each other to succeed through failure. And those are things that I really like to talk to organizations, school leaders, and teachers about, because I think that's where it starts. It's about the permission to fail forward.
Well, I think as school leaders, and by title, we're both in leadership positions, right?
Right.
So as leaders, how do we give that permission and make sure people know it's okay to fail? I had a wise person tell me once, lead from the middle, don't wait. Don't wait for somebody else to tell you. Just lead from the middle. It's okay. I can't iterate that enough, that we need everybody to step up and have ideas and lead from the middle. Lead from wherever you're at. It doesn't matter.
And that's exactly what I was just going to say. Lead from any seat. Anybody can lead, and it's again creating that culture, that commitment together as a team of individuals, that these are some shared and agreed upon agreements that we're going to have within our organization, that we're going to have open and honest and transparent communication, that we're assuming the best of everybody until they prove us otherwise. And it really starts with establishing those agreements. And once those agreements are held, then we maintain those through accountability with each other. And that's a great place to start. That is a great place to start. Another place I believe that is really important when we talk about it is understanding our shared vision for why we're here. Why are we here? Why are we committing our heartbeats to the work that we're doing? And it's about what we're providing for the young people and their future. And if we are truly thinking about the heartbeat that we're exchanging for the time that we're investing, why wouldn't we have a culture that is open to innovation, improvement, and change so that we can do the very best that we can with all these resources that we have? I always laugh because talking to some friends recently, we were going over some issues and somebody said, "Hey, I bet there's an app for that." And that's becoming kind of the standard operating procedure now. Hey, let me check my phone. Maybe there's an app for that.
There's an app for that.
We're finding there's more of those tools in education, but again, it's permission for those in our system to utilize those tools and trusting that they're doing so with the very best of intentions.
I'd like to coin the phrase, there's a nap for that. That's what I would like to do.
Hey,
and
that is
slow
a
everybody
bumper
down.
That is a bumper sticker.
Yeah, there's a nap for that. You know, you're feeling overwhelmed, there's a nap for that. I want to challenge one more thing is before we do a kind of a fun space in our interview here today. We've talked before about this, that education, our current system and education emphasizes time over task. This is a good thing to like stop and pause on. Time over task. Would you elaborate on this concept and like its impact on what you think about learner success? Because we've talked about this before, and I think it's worth sharing.
Yeah. And this, you asked me early on what gets me excited about education. This topic really does. We've held so long that time is the constant and learning, or the task of learning, is the variable. How is it that magically in a few weeks, we're going to have a bunch of first graders walk into the building, magically first graders. And by May or June of next year, they're magically second graders. Why is that? And why do they batch together? Why aren't we understanding that the learners come to us with a broad array of skill sets, and we have the tools, the capacity, and the capability today, and I know we do because I've seen it firsthand, I've applied it firsthand in the organizations that I've led, where we can focus on the task over time, understanding that learners learn at different rates and different paces, and that gives them the agency, it gives them the autonomy, and it really comes back to something that we're all struggling with in education right now, and that's learner engagement. How do we keep those learners engaged? Well, if they take greater ownership, that agency again in their learning, and understand that, boy, if I'm really advanced, I can go, and if I'm struggling, I should wait. That's okay. And I liken it to this. If you and I took a test today and we passed with 75%, we would probably be moved on in the class and we could keep playing, but we would never drive a car with only 3 tires that have air in. You could, but you wouldn't get very far, and the ride would be pretty uncomfortable. And then you think about how that becomes a compounding factor over 12 or 13 years of formal education, or even more if they pursue a post-secondary opportunity. Those gaps can become fissures, and those fissures become missed opportunity. And if we're truly about creating the very best that we can in our youth, helping them realize their fullest potential, I'm a huge proponent and advocate that we need to reframe that it's task over time, not time over task, and really rethink what we do in our educational delivery model.
Great analogy. I love it. I'm going to switch us, Clint. You ready for this? Lightning round. I like to end with a little bit of a lightning round.
Okay, I'm grabbing the edge of my chair. Let's go.
This is lightning round, Minnesota versus South Dakota. So that's the theme today.
All right. Well, you just got back from South Dakota.
I did. It was beautiful.
This will be fun.
Loved it. Lakes or mountains?
Oh, lakes.
I don't even know if this is a fair comparison, but I'm going to put Prince against Mount Rushmore.
Oh, Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Iconic.
Mall of America, Crazy Horse Memorial.
I'm going Crazy Horse.
Uh, okay, we got Boundary Waters Canoe Area versus Badlands National Park, which is more iconic.
Badlands. I'm gonna say Badlands.
It is pretty amazing, actually. Easy. Minneapolis, Sioux Falls.
Oh, Minneapolis.
Corn Palace or the State Fair, where you can get corn.
Hey, I am a religious state fair goer. So the Great Minnesota Get Together, I'll see you there.
Yeah, Mitchell, South Dakota. This is no offense to you. The Corn Palace feels a little underwhelming once you get there. I'm just gonna say.
But it's a hook.
It is a hook. They figured something out. What's a better slogan? Land of 10,000 lakes or great faces, great places?
Oh, I'm going with great places, great faces. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta like the rhyme, right?
It does, yeah.
I got a couple of rough sports here. Hockey or rodeo?
Ooh, that's tough. Rodeo.
Okay. North Star State or Mount Rushmore State?
I'm gonna go Mount Rushmore just because, again, the great faces, right? Great faces.
Who's got the better river, Mississippi River or the Missouri River?
Hey, let's go the big Mississippi. That's a good ride.
It's a good ride. There you go. That is your Minnesota, South Dakota lightning round, either or, and you heard some preferences there from Mr. Dr. Klint. So with that, I'm going to give you like 30 more seconds here before we wrap up. Last call to action, Klint? What do you want to put out there for the world?
I just want people to know that if they would ever want somebody to come and speak or consult with their leaders, I'm available. It's something that I'm really passionate about doing. I love helping others, especially as they embrace this journey of thinking about competency-based approaches to education, or thinking as well about how to reframe culture for improvement, innovation. Really believe I got some ideas and experiences that could help you out. It is Klint with a K, by the way. Don't want people to forget that either. And again, look forward to helping others and talking to you again down the road, Eric.
There we go. We've covered a lot of ground today. Thank you, Klint with a K. Before we wrap up, just a couple final thoughts here. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Dr. Klint, for being a part of our show today. It's always a pleasure talking with you. And as we go, everybody else, thank you for tuning in today to this episode of TalentED. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave us a review. If you have any suggestions for future guests or people that we should contact and get in touch with, please let us know. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing. And as I like to say, 3 letters, PKS, stay positive, kind, and supportive, everybody. Goodbye.